Hey there, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Thursday, March the 26th. My name's Thom Rigsby. On the line, I got good friend Joe Copp. We're going to talk about sales and freedom and coronavirus and all that stuff. Grab a cup of coffee. Look, I have mine right here. Grab your cup of coffee and join us. We'll get started right after this. Maybe. Come on.
This is 7 Minutes in the Morning, where 5 days a week you get tips and hacks dedicated to helping business owners and leaders just like you find and break through the one thing that is preventing your success. And now, here's the host of 7 Minutes in the Morning and your results coach, Thom Rigsby.
Hey there, everybody. Good morning. Welcome. Let me turn that down just a smidge. Hey, my name is Thom Rigsby. This is normally 7 minutes in the morning, but for the foreseeable future, we're calling this your daily update for small business owners for all things related to what we're doing, how we're surviving through this coronavirus wasteland, and then what's going to happen on the other side. If this is the first time joining us, welcome. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget, whether you're new or you've been here before, leave those heart stars, thumbs up, likes if you get any value from our conversation at all today. And if you have a question, be sure and leave it in the comments. Most of the comments I can see live, we'll get to those. If you have a question, we'll get to those during the show. If not, I'll come back and work through the comments. We're multicasting this thing out to lots of different locations, just trying to get as much information as possible out to as many people as possible. So that leaves a couple of gaps I have to go back in and fill later on. But that's okay. We can handle that. Speaking of handling that, let me get into, wrong button, this update. I know you guys are dying to see this every day, see that my chart's updated. So this really is the number that we're focusing on down here, this 1.20 rate of growth. That's the number. I don't care what other numbers you see on the news, what you hear on the radio. This is the number you need to pay attention to, and here's why. Right? This is the number that's going to tell us when we've reached the top. This is, it's funny. My mom taught math in high school for my whole childhood. And we've subsequently had plenty of conversations about it. But one of the common questions she got a lot is, when are we ever going to need to know this? Well, now's one of those times. I mean, this is early stage calculus stuff here. But all of that aside, the point is, there are mathematical models that will tell us, and results that tell us when this thing is slowing down and when we've turned the curve. Why is that important? Because when we turn the curve with the spread of this thing, that's when you and I know it's time to go back to work. Now, so we're keeping a really close eye on that. As you might have seen, the number went up just ever so slightly yesterday. It went from 1.09 to 1.2. That's still teetering right there in that area where we want it to be. Once it goes below zero, stays below zero for 2 or 3 days, then we're on the other side of this thing. So take that number, share it with your friends, and you'll be the smart one in the bunch as you were talking about this. Another piece of news that came up overnight was the Senate. Oh, man. The Senate has passed their version of the stimulus bill that now has to go to the House. So we're still not sure what's in this thing or going to be in this thing. It's always subject to change. But we're continuing to watch that for you as well. Don't forget, if you're a business owner in just about any of the states now in the United States, I'll have to go look again, but there are only a couple of states that haven't declared. Use this link that's down the lower third, sba.gov/disaster. You can go there and find out if your state's included, and if it is, you can apply for a low-interest loan based on your level of need and the impact that you've had. But this is a great way to help you get through this this revenue drought so that you can survive. Remember, our first conversation's about survival, and then we can talk about restarting, rebooting the business when we get on the other side. All right. So with all of that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my guest here today, Mr. Joe Copp. Joe, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Thom.
Good. So I want to, there's so many things that we could talk about. It's kind of, well, we kind of have to pick and choose so that we make sure we get the right things in the conversation. First of all, tell us a little bit. I've got on your lower third there, execute and achieve. Real quickly, what is that, and how do you, under normal circumstances, how do you help businesses grow?
Well, actually, under all circumstances, what we do is essentially we help people everything from starting their pitch to developing their sales process to actually increasing their close ratios on their sales.
All right, good. All right, so we were talking a little bit before we got started here about, one of the things, I talk to a ton of business owners, and let me just kind of lay the stage, lay the groundwork for this conversation, and then we'll kind of figure out where it goes from there. But virtually everybody, when you start talking about why did you start the business, what do you want the business to do for you, 99.999% of people will come to an answer of it creates some kind of freedom for me. It is financial freedom, freedom from a boss, time freedom, location freedom, some kind of freedom that it is creating for them. So then we get into circumstances like these. And look, there's been a lot of conversation the last couple of days about I think the president said, is the cure worse than the disease? I think that was what he said. I know you've got a couple of thoughts on that. Tell us, what are you thinking about the actions that we've taken so far? Are they good? Are they bad? And what should we prepare to be doing or be doing now?
Well, I think the big thing is just to pay attention. If you look, there's two trains of thought that are emerging. The first train of thought is basically the fear-based, hey, stay at home. And there's some science backing that up for contagion, etc. The other train of thought that's emerging is there were some people talking about back in January, February, there was like a flu strain that was going around, and people were going in for a dry cough, things along those lines, and they were showing negative for the flu. And they're thinking that it was actually some of the first signs of coronavirus. So that means that we were operating normal during those times where it was actually spreading around pretty quick. So we just have to make sure that we watch our freedoms, because some of the things that we're doing are actually going against the culture of our country.
Like what? Give us for example.
Well, our country is based on freedom. I mean, people like myself, I retired from the military, and for 22 years, I gave up my freedom so other people could be guaranteed theirs. We have to be careful that we don't give up control too easy of our lives.
Well, so, and this is kind of the debate, isn't it? I mean, there's this kind of hashtag campaigns emerged over the last couple of days since the president started talking about getting the economy restarted. It's I don't want to die for Wall Street. Is that what it is? Something like that. I don't pay that much attention to them. But the context of that's kind of out of context. I mean, at some point, regardless of who's president, regardless of whether you and I are here every morning or not, at some point, an economy emerges from a group of people. At some point, when you stop it or pause it, it has to restart, because commerce and exchange of goods and exchange of value has to occur. So that's why we've been working really hard here to help our listeners and followers kind of understand the kinds of things they need to be doing today so that they can be ready and be prepared when that happens. There's a great chance that if we don't do the work now to be ready, we'll get a little rusty, and then when the floodgates open up again and people show up and they're ready for us to be working, we're not going to be ready.
Yeah, one of the big fears that I have is your processes will also get rusty during this process. And the longer that this lasts, the worse it's going to be. If it lasts too long, people can actually develop bad habits that are hard to break. It takes a considerable amount of time to change a habit. But if this drags on too long, it can actually change our habits to where we're not as effective as we used to be. And then when we step up, sometimes it's hard to meet the demands.
Well, and the other thing that happens, and I know you've experienced this. You did your time in the Navy. I did my time in the Army. But we both experienced this in a little different ways. Even when you go into a heightened state of alert or a relaxed state of alert, and you stay in that state for too long, and it kind of depends, and that's the hard part of the answer. But when you stay there for too long, that becomes your new normal. And then when you go back to where you were before, you've kind of forgotten. You've lost that muscle memory, as it were, of the things that you need to do and you need to be kind of thinking about and working on. So I think that I'm right there with you. I think that's a great danger that we run if we get too relaxed. And I have talked to some business owners who have said, yeah, I can't really do anything right now. I'm just kind of hanging out waiting for this to be over. And I'm afraid that if that's your posture, then everybody else is going to pass you right on by. And when this thing reboots and we get back to work, you're going to be sitting back here wondering what happened. So what can we do as a business owner, and understanding we got lots of different types of service and product and all kinds of businesses represented here. What can we do as business owners now to make sure that doesn't happen to us?
Well, one of the things that we have to consider is your customer's buying process may change because of this. I would say we need to look at new streams of income, especially for the future, in case an event like this ever happens. And the more streams of income you have, the less likely it is that your business is going to be affected. The other thing that we need to look at is look at our processes right now. You can look at our process without having all your people there, especially with us being able to work remotely these days. Look at your processes. Look at your training. Are there things that weren't working? Are there things that need overhaul? Are there things that actually need replaced?
Yeah.
And do we need to add new layers in order to help us combat issues like this?
Let me get back to that buying process, because I think that's a really important one. And we talked Tuesday, I think I was talking with John Thornton of Neighborhood Concepts on the radio show. But we were talking about there are things that are going to change as a result of, this past couple of weeks. And they will remain changed forever after this. And so some of those things that we, as a business owner, we have depended on our customer does X, Y, and Z before they buy from us. They might be forever changed at this point, right?
Yes, absolutely. Some people call it the buyer's journey. Some people call it the buyer's process. But your sales process has to intersect with their buying process. And if it doesn't intersect, if it doesn't actually join to where you're in front of them and you're part of their buying decision, then you risk not having the business that you once had.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people counting on their customers. Oh, I've had my customers still come back. But hey, some people, this was the first introduction to buying online, and brick and mortars probably will be affected.
Well, in some cases, and I've always said, actually, I think it was, I think Best Buy kind of coined this term that they were turning into Amazon showroom. But there's always been this problem, I guess, for retailers where people will come in and shop so they can look at it, touch it, feel it, see if it fits, do all that, and then go home and order it online. Um, but then there have been this whole other portion of the population that they're just, yeah, I don't want to order things online. Well, now over the last couple of weeks, we've been forced into that model. Um, and so now where we were uncomfortable with that before, now we're more comfortable. And as Keith points out in the comments, sometimes I think this working at home thing is going to be one of the biggest shifts, and it could be tectonic plate shifting kind of change here, where businesses that were opposed to, it's not really businesses as much as management styles that were opposed to letting people work remotely. Now they see that we actually can get things done if people work remotely, and they'll be more open to that idea. And oh, by the way, if I don't have to occupy as much floor space because they're doing it at home for me, and my utility bill goes down, my rent goes down. So I think there are these long-term changes that are going to come about, and we need to try in each of our markets, in each of our areas of expertise, we need to try and figure out what those changes are and be ahead of the curve, be responsive to them, call them out for what they are. Hey, now that you're comfortable ordering online, come to my online store to order your product, something like that. And then the other thing I wanted to come back to quickly before we wrap things up is processes. Um, it's kind of like failure is a result. No answer is an answer. Even if you don't have a process written down, you have a process, right? The problem with it not being written down is that nobody else can do it. It's not reproducible, etc. Why is this a great time for business owners to be working on their processes?
Well, one, you have some downtime, so you can actually have some quiet time where you can sit and focus. Your phones aren't ringing. You don't have a lot of sales calls coming to your home that normally come into the office. Um, Everything is a little relaxed right now. So instead of getting kicking back watching tons of Netflix, let's look at the actual things. What do we have written down? What processes do we have? And some people that's never done it, now's a better time. Some of the things that I would like to see would be on like social media like this, is comments, because what that's going to do is that's going to give other people information so they can judge which direction to turn. And that's what make shows like this so valuable.
Well, and you know, the thing that is challenging to me, frustrating to me, is hearing those business owners say, I don't have time for X. And even for businesses that are still open and operating, I have a number of my clients are still operating. Um, and I get this answer, well, I don't really have time for that. Well, you, you could be shut down like this restaurant over here, or, this bar, pub, whatever over here. Um, there's never a good time to do the hard work. That's why it's hard work, right? So just take the time, get them written down. Even if you write them down wrong, at least it's a starting point, and you have something to go back and correct, right? And a jumping off point. The other thing that I always encourage people to do is um, write them down and then give them to your team, because what you think they're doing and what they're actually doing might not be the same. And this is a great time to find that out, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
Keith's got a great comment here. Everything is up for review and renewal. I'll throw in renewal through our new normal in late 2020. kind of like after a war. I agree with that. This is an opportunity to say, okay, we kind of get into these patterns, and even let's go back to what we kind of opened this conversation with, the pursuit of freedom. We started a business, and for one reason or another, it all kind of root cause comes back to we wanted financial freedom, time freedom, location freedom, freedom from a job, whatever. But we get into these routines, and then we just accept those routines as, well, this is what it takes. This is normal. This is what my life is right now. This is a great opportunity, a pattern interrupt that says, that was over there. Now let's draw up something new for over there.
Yeah, in fact, the business owners who actually work within their business are the ones who eventually are looked up by the community of business itself as being successful. The folks that have the freedoms can do what they want, when they want, how they want. Other business owners actually look up to them and praise them. So these are some of the things that we need to do, and this is how some of those businesses that we look up to have become successful.
Yep. Yeah, indeed. And this is the hard work of business ownership. All right, Joe, folks can find out more about you where? How do they get in touch with you?
Well, you can come to executeandachieve.com, or you can call me directly at 256-714-4472.
And Joe I don't think Joe has missed a day, maybe one or two, being in the comments of this daily show every day. So you can come here and find him as well. Joe, thanks so much. Appreciate you being here and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for today, folks. Thanks for being here. Remember, if you got value, be sure and leave Joe a comment. Just tag him in the comment. Thank him for being here, and leave the old stars, hearts, thumbs up, likes for the show. That will help other people find us. And by the way, speaking of helping other people find us, right underneath this video or audio, depending on where you're watching or listening, there's a button. Everywhere there's a button that says share. Click on that share button. Share this with a business owner that you know so they can come over, join us for this conversation. Most importantly, find out where that inflection point is and know when it's ready for them to get back to work. All right, that's it for today. Join us here again tomorrow, 7 o'clock for another, I almost said 7 minutes, for another installment of your daily briefing around this whole coronavirus thing. Take care, be safe, wash your hands, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.